Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Gurave Namah. Acharyamam Vijaniya Navamanyeta Karchit Namatya Buddhya Suyeta Sarvadev Mayo Guru. I bow down to my Guru Dev again and again. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, know the Guru to be myself. Do not use your material minds to comprehend his divine actions. For all forms of God dwell within the Guru. We will begin the class by chanting the Shanti Path. There is a mantra that is used all the way from the Upanishads, that when a teaching session is about to begin, the Acharya and the students, they chant this mantra. I think all of you know it. It's not a difficult one. I probably was supposed to get copies for everybody. Om Sahana Bhavatu.
Om Sahana Bhavatu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahaviryam Karvavahai.
Sahaviryam Karvavahai.
Tejasvinadhitamastu.
Tejasvinadhitamastu.
Ma Vidvishavahai.
Ma Vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti, 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 Harsha. It means, Om, may God protect us, meaning the teacher and the students together. May we be nourished together. May we attain vigor together. May we become illumined by the study. May we not hate each other. Oh, peace, peace, peace. So what is the object of this study? The object of this study is for us to understand our scriptures, to grow strong in the knowledge of the scriptures, and to become enlightened by this knowledge that we have, and that by this knowledge should bring us closer together and not divide us. Now we shall like shouldn't divide us. Any action that we do in this world is geared towards one thing. Anything that we do, we go to school, we work, we play, and that one thing that we are all searching for is happiness. No matter what we do, it may not be directly, but indirectly is what is lead to happiness. For example, work is not an easy thing. It says, man, how are you telling me I go to work but this miserable? How are you telling me that this I'm trying to get happiness? Because when I go to work, I want to get the money. And this money now I'm going to use to get the things that I think will make me happy. No one wants misery. All of us, our sole purpose is whatever we do. Even if someone steals, their object is, by stealing this, they're going to be happy. When they steal this money or this whatever possession of someone else, it's going to make them happy. So even if they commit crimes, it's because they want to be happy. But the question is, why do we want to be happy? Why don't we want misery? You know anybody wants misery? Send them by me. Why do we all want happiness? So we don't, no one of us, nobody wants misery. You know, if you take a drop of rainwater, the drops from the rain, where is it trying to go? The raindrops fall, they come down from the gutter, they go to the drain, and finally where they end up? Into the ocean. That drop of water is searching for the ocean. It's trying to make its way to the ocean. If you throw a cloud of earth up in the air, where does it come down? Back to the earth. The cloud of earth is trying to make union with the mass of the earth. Sparks, you see, they fly upwards. They want to make a unity with the Son. In the same way, we are a part of that happiness, that supreme happiness. You see, God is defined as Anand, or bliss, or happiness. And so, because we are a part of that supreme happiness, we can't help ourselves but want to be happy. The unfortunate thing is, we're looking for it in the wrong places. You see, that is why no man can be an atheist. He may say he's an atheist, he may say he doesn't believe in God, but as long as you're after happiness, my friend, you're after God. And as I said before, there's nothing that no one does, even the so-called atheist does, that is not in pursuit of happiness. And so we're all searching for this happiness, and we believe it's in various things. We believe that, okay, I might be happy if I have a good education, if I become a doctor. So I go to school, I work hard, I become this doctor. And then what happens? People start calling you all hours of the night, this and that, they're sick and all kinds of things. And you say, oh my, I wish I chose another profession. You kill somebody and they die, and then all their family cursing you and they're looking to sue you, you know? And but, you know, not really happy. When I was a boy, I had a bicycle. And I was riding, I didn't have to buy gas, insurance, no nothing. I was happy. But then I look at a fellow zipping by with a motorcycle. And I said, you know what? Shucks, look at you. Wish I had a motorcycle. So I had a motorcycle, now I'm cruising with a motorcycle. Rain is falling, I'm getting wet. Sun is hot, I'm burning. I see the guy passing his nice car. So, wow, if I got a car, I'll be happy now. So I got a car. Now everybody, they want you to take them here, take them to the market, take them this place, that place. When somebody's sick in the middle of the night, they come in the village, they say, oh, help me carry my son to the doctor. No, you gotta go with them to the doctor. You don't want to tell them no. And you said, you leave the car on the road, you're not sleeping, you're wondering when somebody's breaking into it. You gotta get all kinds of things for it, gasoline, you gotta find money. You know, I thought that guy was happy with the car. No, I got the car. I know there's no happiness in this thing. You know? What it is, that the more of it we get, the happier we will be. We think, hey, if I get married to that girl, I'll be happy. Finally, got married to the girl, everything's fine and nice for a while. The next thing you know, she turns out unfaithful. And you say, oh my God, I thought I would be happy with Jane. No, look what happened. What is there any happiness in anything material? No. Let us say ice cream, for example, will make us happy. He said, Charles said, okay, if I get an ice cream now, it's a hot day, I'm going to be very happy. I get an ice cream, happy. If I get another ice cream, you should be happier, because this thing now, should bring you more happiness the more I give you. After 3, you start to protest. No, Baba, can't take more. You already want to throw up what you have. Is there happiness in ice cream? So, where is happiness? We left Guyana, we came here thinking that we'd be happy. And in my last job, I was selling appliances, and there are people who took all the money, they put it on for a house, and they're plodding away paying that mortgage. They come, my tenant needs a fridge, thing. Man, give me a nice cheap fridge, I want to give it to the tenant, because they're bitching and what have you. And they're dressed, you feel sorry for them, the way they are and what have you. And that is the condition of most people. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. A cow might be here, there might be a desert over there, but the cow always wants to break the wire and go on the other side. it feels it's going to be better there. Now we are here, we want all the Guyana food. Everything from Guyana now everything from Guyana now is so nice. Happiness, we'll only experience true happiness. All the happiness that the temporary happiness that we experience now is only a reflection of the true happiness that we would get when we make that connection with who we really are. Bhagavad Gita is going to help us to, through the same thing that we're doing. We don't have to do anything new, anything different. All we have to have is a change of attitude to what we do. And it'll help us in our spiritual development until we can form that connection. And even before we form that connection, we will still enjoy a measure of peace of mind and a measure of tranquility and a measure of happiness while we go through that. Last time we met, last week, I told you that there were 3 things necessary for us to know God. And that those 3 things were from one of the India's greatest philosophers, Adi Shankaracharya. That's his type. He's the greatest philosopher. And from his book, one that is called Vivek Churamani, we said that the first thing that was necessary to know God was birth in a human form. Right? It is called Manushyatam. No other creature is God conscious. The animal kingdom, there are 3 means of knowledge. And the 3 means of knowledge are: 1, instinct. 2, reason. 3, inspiration or intuition. Animals are born with instincts. At these 2 levels, you don't make mistakes. Animals are born with instinct. In other words, they're like a computer. They come into this world pre-programmed. If you take a duck from the time it is born and you put it in the water, what happens? It swims. We can't. From the time it is born, you put it in the water, it swims. If you take a bird and you blindfold it, and you go with a boat in the sea, and you go around in circles, and you release that bird, it will fly straight to its nest. If you take a man and do that with him, you're going to have to know reason. See, that's what we do. We'll say, okay, my house is east. The sun is setting, that is west, so this way should be east. And then I'll travel this way. The animals, they don't make mistakes. But the dog remains a dog. A bird remains a bird. But man reasons, and by reasoning we make mistakes. But it's only a man who, through his ability to reason, is able to lift himself up and become like a Buddha, like a Jesus, like a Muhammad, to become someone who is God, or like God. And when the reason takes us to another step, which is called inspiration, when we through our through the practices that we do, we be able to see truth firsthand. This is not now, we don't have to reason anymore. You'll have the ability to see truth. You'll become a seer. You know, a rishi? A rishi is a seer. He sees the truth. He knows this is the truth. There's no if and but about it anymore. He tells you, this is what it is. Tat tvam asi. Thou art it. That's one of the, what you call the four Mahavakyas of the Upanishads. So, Bhagavad Gita was actually the Lord's song. It is the world's longest philosophical poem. The Bhagavad Gita is a product of the Mahabharata. It is actually, it wasn't originally, it wasn't a book by itself. It's found in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. But Adi Shankaracharya, he took these verses out, this portion out of the Mahabharata, and made a separate book of it called the Bhagavad Gita. This conversation that took place between Arjuna and Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And this conversation is what is known as the Bhagavad Gita. And so, the Gita has as the conversation between Bhagavan Sri Krishna. The Gita is a product of a universal mind. What is beautiful about the Gita is that the Gita is not sectarian. It's not meant only for the Hindus. It's not meant only for people of a special race or religion. The Gita is for mankind. The truths of the Upanishads are meant for mankind, for the whole world. It didn't say, "Oh, hear ye Hindus. Listen, O man." And as I told you the last time, the Rishi, when he discovered the truth, he said, "Shrinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putra." O ye children of immortality. Not only Hindus are children of immortality, every human being is a child of immortality. And so, because they come from Bhagavan Sri Krishna, whom we, of course, as Hindus, regard as an avatar or God in the form of a human being, this principle also Christians embrace, because they believe that Jesus Christ was God incarnate or God in the flesh. So that's a similarity we have in religions. Because they come from his lips, it means the authority is paramount. The Gita has at its background the vast and varied Vedic literature known as the Upanishads. And I put these two words here. One is called Smriti and one is Shruti. As Hindus, we have been able to divide scripture into its social and the historical part as opposed to the eternal truths that doesn't change. Throughout history, society has changed. The way we dress, the way we eat, the way we travel. These things have changed. And it's not a sin. Although some people still think it is, that if you don't do something a certain way, it's wrong. And the things that we do, and they will look back on those society, and they would have a problem with the way that people acted. Nowadays, we eat with a fork and spoon and what have you. Is it a sin to do that? Are we committing a crime? Am I less holy than the person who uses his fingers? I eat on a plate that's made of metal or probably plastic. Am I less holy than the person who eats in a leaf? You know? Long ago, when the people went to the bathroom, they cleansed themselves with a bottle of water. Now people use toilet paper, what have you. So, I mean, are they less clean or less what have you? You know, for example, in the Bible, when the Jews were wandering in the wilderness, Moses made a law. He said, one day, nobody must do any work. Everybody must rest. And he called it the Sabbath day. Now, today, in this day of age, you think everybody could rest one day? We're going to have with the patients. We're going to have with the criminals or what have you. They're going to have a hallelujah or something. So now,
For them to rest too.
maybe we could rest another day, or different people could choose this other day, but everybody just cannot, it's not practical for everybody to rest on the same day anymore. It's not practical. So now, is it a sin if instead of resting on the Sabbath day, or what they call it, if Sunday is the Sabbath or Saturday, if I rest on Monday now, am I committing a sin? Actually, according to the Bible, Moses, there was a man who went to get firewood to build a fire, and he had him stoned to death. Because, I mean, I'm not judging him, because when you are the commander of some people, you have to make, examples. If you don't, otherwise nobody else will obey the law. But what I'm trying to show you, or trying to bring out, those laws are called smriti. Somebody might say, listen, man, you're telling me to get one wife only. Look, Raja Dashrath had so many wives. Why can't I have 3 wives too? And he was the father of our Lord, Sri Ram. But in that society, nobody had a problem with that. That was the society of the time. Furthermore, he was a king. And in those days, kings, when they make alliances with other people, they say, marry one of my daughters. Then you don't have to worry, because this kingdom is your son-in-law. Your son-in-law is going to attack you. Apart from that, people needed a lot of children in order to progress and look after the cattle, look after the wealth, what have you. Women in those days, remember, we didn't have all these fancy maternity ward and what have you. So after they got a few children, they died. Or they weren't able to bear more kids. But we might look, from our standpoint, we might look back and judge these people and say, they were not very moral. We get on our high horses and say, yeah, they were not very moral. The classical case that we have is that when we know that Muslims are allowed to marry more than one wife. How did it come about? Remember when he had all these campaigns, all these wars, there was less men than women, because who goes to war? Not the women, the men. And when the men died out, there were so many women now without husbands. And when you're without husband, one, you're unprotected. Two, there's no economic coming to you, so the children became fatherless. The wives became suffering to take care of them. So out of this sympathy for these people, he said, okay, he told his man, it's okay for you to have more than one wife. He stipulated certain conditions and so on, so that society will not become loose. We were reading Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna advanced that same argument. In the Bhagavad Gita, he said, Krishna, you're pushing me to this war, but what happens during war? When all the men die out, the women will become loose, caste will be intermingled of caste, and society, of course, will suffer. But in this day of age now, when men outnumber women in some places, they still want to hold on to that right now. I must still have more than one wife. Not to mention now, their men are marrying men, so I don't know what happened to women. In this country, women outnumber men already. And also men are marrying men, and then you can't blame the women for marrying the women. If you want to marry men, what's going to happen to the women? But that is just beside the point. The point I'm trying to make here is certain scriptures were designated as Smriti because most of their content was about historical matters and were dealt about cultural issues of the time. Much of the Mahabharata, if you read about it, will tell you how the people lived and how they were governed and so on at that time. But the Upanishads is Smriti, meaning they deal with eternal truths. As long as we study about God and religion, we'll always think about reincarnation, for example. There'll always be people who will think or say, this transmigration of souls. Karma, for example, that doesn't change and hasn't changed from time immemorial. Hindus believe in karma. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction that we have to suffer or reap the fruits or enjoy the fruits of our actions. So these are the eternal truths as mentioned in the Smriti, and the Shruti. And the Shruti has nothing to do with time. They are ageless. So the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Brahmanas, they contain the Shruti. If you read a scripture later on, now, although Ramayana is very reverenced, Mahabharata and so on, but they all still form under the Smritis. If there's something in the Smriti that is not in accordance with the Shruti, then the Smriti has to give up in favor of the Shruti. And so, Bhagavad Gita is a unique book in the sense that it is a Smriti in terms of because it's a part of Mahabharata, but in its content, it is a Shruti, in that it voices, or it is actually the essence of the Upanishads. There's another word that you would see that is used a lot, and we'll talk about, actually, the term Vedanta. Vedanta it literally means the end of the Vedas. Vedas, Anta means end. But it means end in the sense of essence. Like the last word. This is the last word. Right? After all the discussion, what we end up with? The last word. So, the teachings of the Upanishads is called Vedanta. Now, we talk so much about the Upanishads. What does the Upanishads actually teach? As I told you before, there are 4 Mahavakyas. Mahavakya means a pronouncement. After you search it, you come with the law now that you have found, or you discovered. Mahavakya. And the 4 of them are found in the Upanishads. And from the Aitareya Upanishad, Prajnanam Brahma. And it says Brahma or Brahman is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. Another one that comes from the Mandukya Upanishad is Ayam Atma Brahma. That this Atman is actually Brahma. Tat Tvam Asi from the Chandogya Upanishad, thou art it. You You are the thing that you're looking for. When Jesus said, I and my Father are one, everybody thought Jesus was talking about himself, this physical form. But if I do this, am I holding you or am I holding your hand? Yeah, but then somebody say, he touched me. Now, which one is correct? Did I touch him or did I touch his hand? But if I touch your hand, then I didn't touch you. If this is my shoe, this is not me. Whatever belongs to me cannot be me. So I have a body. Who is the I? So, you see? I was in Bandir last time, and Bandit was trying to say, or the question he wanted to ask was, if we have a soul, do you have a soul? No, you are the soul. You are the soul. You don't have a soul. If you take away the soul, who are you? What is left? The body. And you're not the body. We are souls. This was a very important discovery by the Hindus. The fact that there is an entity in us that does not die. You see, other religions, they try to preserve the body, thinking that's why the Egyptians, they embalmed the body, thinking that if you harm the body, the corresponding spirit of the body will be harmed. But what we do with the body? We burn it, we cremate it. Because we say, let this body go as quickly as possible so that the soul, the real you, can be liberated. That's why the Gita says, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Na chainam klerayantya, Na shoshayati marutaha. That this soul cannot be cut by any weapons. It cannot be burned by fire. Water can't wet it. If you go in a drum in the ocean itself, it doesn't touch the soul. And the wind, of course, cannot dry it. It is said that Alexander the Great, he conquered India. And today the Greeks are begging. They're bankrupt. You see how it goes? Spain also. Remember? Spain used to take boatloads of treasure from here. If you remember your West Indian history. They used to take boatloads, the convoy system. Boatloads every year. About 150 ships laden with treasure to Spain. And Drakes and Hawkins, the pirates, they used to cut out a few ships for themselves. And today, look at what happened. They're all in financial trouble. All in financial trouble. So Alexander the Great conquered India. And Alexander was a lover of wisdom. So he was very young. He heard about a holy man living in the forest. He went to meet him. He was impressed by the holy man. And he said, you know what? I want you to come with me to Greece. The holy man said, with all due respect, no, I'm very happy here. I don't see why I should go with you to Greece. He said, well, it's my command. You have to go. You have to come with me. He said, well, if I still refuse, what you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to kill you. And then the man burst out laughing. He said, that is the most foolish thing you have ever uttered, O king. He said, me you cannot kill. As long as a blade of grass lives, I live. As long as an ant is alive, I live. For I am the Atman, I am indestructible. Alexander the Great had to admit defeat. For the first time, the sword that terrorized the whole world, there was this half-naked man who was not afraid of Alexander's sword. And that is what the Upanishad teaches. The immortality of the soul. That this Atman, that is what we really are. We are really this Atman. We are not this body. And that we are not little cells. The power, the power that is within us is the power of God itself. You know, it is like this. Let us say we are all waves in the sea. This is the sea, you have big waves, little waves, what have you. This is the sea, the substrate. Suppose I were to give you a straw, and I tell you, drink out this wave. Would you be able to drink it out? Why? What is the substratum? You have to drink out the whole ocean. Isn't that so? Well, in essence, that is how it is. That is how it is with us. We might look and appear, and not only us, every living thing is that way. You see, we have become evolved. The animals are at a different stage than us. The difference between you and an animal, or an insect, or whatever it is not one of kind. In our essence, we're all the same. But it's one of degree, of the stage of evolution. That insect is indestructible too. So is the animal. Now, another religion might tell you, well, the animal don't have soul. We got souls. We're the only people who got souls. It's not that they don't have souls. The same Atman. Bhagavad Gita again will tell us that like how you have a string, like how you have a mala, let's say this is the mala, and you have different pearls of different shapes that is strung on this mala. Think about the pearls as different beings. But how much string is there? There's only one string, but many pearls. This is very, very high philosophy. It's not easy to internalize. And as Hindus, we never believe in something, and then you're going to be okay. Some people tell you, say this in a prayer, and that's it. We believe that we must realize God. You don't have to wait until you die to know if you have God with you. Realization, we have to realize God. It's like, I can tell you how to get to a certain place. But after I give you the map, you have to go there. The Hindu scripture is telling us Bhagavad Gita is the milk that Krishna took. The analogy that is used is, imagine all these Upanishads as a cow. Sarva Upanishado cow. Let us say, take all the Upanishads as now a cow. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has milked the Upanishads. Has milked the Upanishads. And he's giving this milk to Arjuna. And through Arjuna, through this dialogue that was recorded by Sanjay and Vyas, we also are able to drink this milk. The problem is that we take the Bhagavad Gita and we put it on a pedestal by our murtis and we make arti, but we don't drink it. We don't read it. We don't know how many chapters it has, how many verses it has, who are the principal characters of it. What are the things that it has? And so that's what we do with our other scriptures too. When it says, okay, I'm going to read a verse of the Bhagavad Gita, nobody in the congregation has a Gita to see if the Pandit is reading it right or not right. Or to make a note so when they go home they can follow it. You know, Pandit said so and so, but now I'm going to read it myself again, try and get the gist of it. But you see, people of our religion, they got their book and they proudly walk up the road with it. You know? The Gita was meant for us to digest, for us to drink a little bit of it every day, and not only read it, but to put it into practice it. Bhagavad Gita is a unique scripture. It was not given in a cave. It was not given in a forest. It was not even given in a mandir. Where was the Bhagavad Gita given? On a battlefield. The battlefield of Kurukshetra. The first word tells us what? Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, Samaveta, Yutsavaha. It says on this battlefield, he was asking the king. You see, the first verse is not even from Krishna. Who spoke the first verse? The emperor Dhritarashtra. He is asking who? Sanjay, his advisor. Sanjay was blessed by Vyas to be able to sit in one spot and to see. There were such highly evolved souls at the time, and to see what was happening. And in the last chapter, Vyas is going to be, Sanjay is going to be so happy that he was able to hear this thrilling katha and to see all these visions that Arjuna saw. He considered himself so blessed to be one who was favored with the grace to be able to do that. And so Bhagavad Gita was meant for people like me and you. It wasn't meant, you see, the Upanishads, there were a few gifted souls who could understand the Upanishads. People who were ascetics, people who were swamis, people who were sannyasis. They were able to understand the Upanishads. But to the ordinary man, it remained a locked secret. And what is Bhagavan Sri Krishna's achievement was that he was able to take this scripture now, the Upanishads, and bring it for all of us to understand. You know, when you study, there's pure science, and there's pure mathematics, and there's applied science and applied mathematics. What is the most famous equation in science? Einstein's equation is E is equal to mc squared. Einstein discovered that energy of something is equal to the square of light times its mass. And this is pure science. How do you apply this? Einstein didn't tell anybody now how to apply this thing. Other people had to come and know how to use this equation to develop the atom bomb and things like that. The same way, it's like you study mathematics. You know, I'm old school. Probably some of you might know what we learned in geometry. They used to call them theorems. There's a Greek man by the name of Pythagoras. And Pythagoras had a theorem, and he says that the square of the side opposite the right angle triangle. You know, if you have a triangle, and this is a right angle, that the square on the side of the opposite the right triangle, c squared is equal to the sum of the square on the other two sides. That is c, and that's a, that's b. So if this is 5, 5 times 5 is how much? 25. And if this is 4, 4 times 4 is 16. What should this be? 3. Has to be 3. Because 16 and 9 must make 25. So how do you apply this? What is the good of all of this? What is the good of knowing all of this? Sometimes we come out of school and we say, you know what? I'm learning all these hard things. Teacher beating me to learn math and all these things. I'll never use these things. All these algebra and all these things. Let X represent this and represent that and so on. But this here is used practically. Let us say you want to know if this room is square, if those corners are square. Then you can pull a line from there to here. And when you multiply that, the length of that line, and you square it to that, if it doesn't give you that here, then you can know that that is not a square corner. It is not a square corner. It's as simple as that. So, Upanishads is pure knowledge. How do we apply the fact that you are the Atman? How do we use that in our everyday life to improve our life, improve our society, and at the same time reach our goal of God consciousness or God realization or moksha? That is what Bhagwan Sri Krishna has done. And he has done it by introducing his philosophy is called yoga. So, he's telling us to become yogis. From the time you hear the word yogi, what do you think about?
That's why you do yoga.
You think about a man with long clothes, long hair maybe, or matted hair, and so on. And he doesn't eat much, probably he's very skinny, and he walks like he would not break egg or something. That's our idea of a yogi. Yoga in the Western world has been degenerated into yogic exercises. That's what the people call yoga, yogic exercises. But yoga, as used by Krishna, is telling us how to apply this Upanishadic knowledge to our lives. How it suits you as a worker, how it suits you as a king, how it applies to you as a minister, how it applies to you as a lawyer. You don't have to change your profession. You don't have to forsake your wife and your family and go in the bush to become realized. By doing whatever you are doing right now, you can still attain God. That is the message that Bhagavan Sri Krishna has for us. And that is what he was telling Arjuna. That's what he was trying to tell Arjuna. Arjuna was saying, Krishna is better become a yogi. Not a yogi, become a sannyasi, sorry. Better become a sannyasi. Let me leave this battle and let me give up everything and let me go in the bush and then sit down and meditate and forget about it. But Krishna said, no, you're a Kshatriya. You have to do your duty, and through your duty you will attain God. I said, that's why this book was narrated on a battlefield. The battle of life has to be fought. There's no running away from it. All these suicides and so on that people are committing, it's going to be worse for them. Because we believe that we reap the fruits of our karma. And one of the greatest crimes that we could ever commit is to destroy this gift that God has given us. All the scriptures praise the human body. Ramayana says what? Bare bhagya manushyatanupa suradurlabhasata grantanakala. That it is a great fortune to be born as a human being. And like I told you, Adi Shankaracharya, the first man, he was born as a human being. 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 He was born as a hu to take Bhagavad Gita out of and then bring it to us, he also said the human form. And what we do with the human form, we don't know what to do with it. We pour alcohol in it, we pour smoke in it, we hang it up on trees.
Utilize it.
Sometimes I watch circus and then I said, look what these people are doing with the body. And they bend it up and all shape, come down with a speed from the mountain, hit it up.
Punch holes all over.
We don't realize that this is the doorway to God. And that this body, the devatas whom we worship, they are praying to get a body like this again. Because remember, in their world, devatas are people like me and you who have done good deeds and they've gone to enjoy for a while swarga. You see, we do not believe in heaven as a final resting place for. That's why I said we don't have to wait until we go to the other world to know if we know God. If you do good, you go to swarg to enjoy it. But there, you cannot perform karma, fruit-bearing action. There, you only enjoy the fruits of your action. But every day you spend there, the money in the bank gets less. It gets less. Until when it's finished, you come back again. You're born again, isn't it? If you're so lucky you're born as an animal, you'll suffer. But every day that passes, your suffering also is going to be ease until it's all finished. And so these truths, like I said, as the Bhagavad Gita, was taken out by Krishna, is going to be made practical to all of us. And the beautiful thing about it is, we don't have to leave what we're doing. To become a yogi, we don't have to leave our jobs, leave our family, leave our houses. We don't have to dress in a particular way. It's all now at the mental level. It's how we act and react to what we have to do. When you get your book, like I said, this book is by Swami Rangatananda. And when you get your book, there will be, in the introductory parts, there will be more information that's in it, like who was the first person to translate it into English, and things like that. The Gita was first translated into English by a man named Sir Charles Wilkins and published by the British East India Company, with an introduction by Warren Hastings, the first British Governor General in India. And you know what he said? The first British Governor General of India said, the writers of the Indian philosophies will survive when the British dominion in India shall long have ceased to exist, and when the sources which yielded wealth and power are lost to remembrance. This man's words were prophetic. He said, when the British Empire will be no more, when all its wealth and pomp and splendor will go, the Gita will still stand. It will still stand. There were many freedom fighters who used the Gita as their strength when they were in prison. There was a man by the name of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lokmanya Tilak he's called. He was in prison. They were now putting up resistance to British rule. They were not in prison because they were ordinary foul thief or ordinary criminals. And while he was there, from memory, he taught a class like this. of fellow prisoners. And that book is called Gita Rahasya. Then there was another man who was in prison named Vinoba Bhave. And he also taught Bhagavad Gita in the prison. And this gave them strength to withstand the time that they spent in prison. And not to hate one another and have animosity to even the people who imprisoned them. Sri Aurobindo also, he was in prison. And they said, when he came out of prison, he had a mystical experience in prison. It is said that he actually had the vision of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the darshan of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And when he came out of prison, he never did anything of a secular nature. Remember, he was a freedom fighter when he went into prison. When he came out back, he didn't come out and start to make more speeches and more what we call it. He retreated quietly, and he had an ashram because of that experience that he had when he was in prison. The Bhagavad Gita is described as a mother, and when we study it, Gandhiji said that he lost his mother when he was very young, but what helped him was the Bhagavad Gita, because it is described in the Gita Mahatmya as the mother. Of course, the Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, and the chapters, what do we call one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita? Each one is called a shloka. And where do we get the word shloka from? The shloka comes from, if you notice, don't be afraid of me. If you know a part of it even, I want to get some interaction because I don't want to be the only one person. Well, it comes from Valmiki. Valmiki had two birds were mating, beautiful bird, and he was there, and a cruel hunter shot him. And it said that Valmiki, he got angry, he lost his cool, and he cursed the hunter. And when he cursed the hunter, the words came out in this meter, and they said from Valmiki's shok, which means sorrow. Shok, the word shok means sorrow. That's how we get the term shlok or shlok. And so each of the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the 18 chapters, you will have a color form. It will tell us, like the first one, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, or the next one, so and so, which helps us to understand what the chapter is all about. Like I said before, to understand the Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And who were fighting this war on this Mahabharata war? Let me get some action from The battle was being fought by the Kauravas and the Pandavas. They were from a dynasty called the Kuru dynasty, right? What is the ancient name of India? Bharat, right? And how that name came about?
After King Bharat.
King Bharat. Okay, yeah. King Bharat, yeah. So, right down the line there, these guys were descended from this King Bharat. And we had, we can pick it up from Shantanu, the King Shantanu. He had two sons, Vichitravir and Chitrangada. Okay. Now we know Chitrangada didn't have any progeny, any children and so on. But Vichitravir had two. One was Dhritarashtra and the other one was Pandu. Okay. Dhritarashtra unfortunately was blind, and therefore, but he was elder, but he was blind. But so he was disqualified from being the king. But Pandu became the king. And now Pandu had how many sons?
5.
5 sons. Pandu had 5 sons. What are the names of the 5 sons?
Yudhishthir,
Yudhishthir,
Bhim,
Bhim.
Arjun.
Those were the children of which wife?
Kunti,
Kunti. Very good. And
Nakul, and
Nakul and Sahadev. And who was their mother? Madhuri. Very good. Very good. Now, Pandu, because of if you read Mahabharata, you know there's a story connected why he had to leave the kingdom and so on, and how he died on a timely death before Yudhishthir became of age to actually take over the reins, and that's how Dhritarashtra came to rule in his stead. So Dhritarashtra was just ruling in the stead until Yudhishthir came of age. But of course, where property is concerned, everybody, they want more and more and more and more of it, So, I mean, he followed Dharma to a certain extent, but secretly he also wanted Duryodhana to be his son, to be the king, right? And when Yudhishthir became of age, Bhishma, who is Bhishma now?
The eldest son of Shantanu.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's a story of how King Shantanu met with Ganga and so on. And Bhishma, so Bhishma was like a grandsire for them. He solved the problem by saying, you know what? Kingdom is big enough for both parties. And so Hastinapur was the name of the original city. There's another city that was created for the Pandavas. What's the name of that? Indraprastha. Okay. Now, still, Indraprastha was flourishing and everything. And so Duryodhana wanted he wanted everything for himself. So some other players came into being now. He decided to deceive the Pandavas, call them to play a game of dice. Now, again, remember Smriti? People judge Yudhishthir and say why he had to go gamble. Gambling is a bad thing, But the Kshatriyas live by a code. Long ago in the West, if you read, I like cowboy movies and they have a certain code that the cowboys live, and if there's certain things, if you're challenged, you have to respond once you're wearing a gun, and you're insulted. Long ago, people fought duels. There was a president of America, Andrew Jackson. He shot a man in a duel, killed him. And so he was challenged. As a Kshatriya, he had to respond. But what is the name of the man who played for Duryodhana? Shakuni. So they arranged everything, and Shakuni, his dice was loaded, what have you, and that's how the Pandavas were deprived of the kingdom. And they were sent. They had to leave, and they had to go to spend, 13 years in the forest? Or 12 years they had to live, and then 1 year was incognito. They had to disguise. Right there's a beautiful story where Arjun and his brothers, Yudhishthira's brothers, they were thirsty. And there was a story of this enchanted pool. When the pool was controlled by a yaksha. And when they went to drink, first the yak said, "Don't drink. You have to answer me some questions before you drink." And they said, "Who are you? We warriors will defeat you." Drink, and he died. All the brothers died. Only Yudhishthir, when he went, when the yak started to speak, he was thirsty, overpowering thirst, but he still controlled his Dharmaraj. And he said, "Okay, yaks, ask your questions, ask away." And then we have some beautiful questions that were asked there. What is faster than the wind? The mind. So the mind. I mean, now we know more and more science, we even say light, light is faster than sound and the wind. But the mind, which is true, you could be here, next minute you could be in Guyana, you could be in some other part of the world, And one of the questions he asked him again was, what is the strangest thing in life? Or the most wonderful thing in life? Anybody remember the answer to that one?
Death. The fact that every day people are dying, but still no one believes that they will die.
Exactly. Every day people die, but yet no one can think of his own death. Every day people die, but you cannot imagine your own death. You see, some people say every day people die, but everyone thinks that he will never die. But the answer is, no one can conceive of his own death. Let me ask you something. Can you imagine your funeral? You say yes. Okay, that's not hard. I will be there. Yeah, well, you're saying I'm going to be there, and I'm watching everybody coming, crying, bring flowers, what have you. So if you're watching, you're not dead. You see the thing? You cannot conceive of your own death. If you are watching, are you dead? No. If you are watching at the funeral, you're not dead. No one can, because why? We don't die. And then the Yaksh was so pleased, he said, okay, this year did very well. Which one of your brothers you want to live? I give you a boon now. Tell me, out of all these that die, which one you want to come up? I'll resurrect one of them for you. Bring them back to life. And which one did he choose? He chose, I think, Nakul. And then the yak said, oh, Yudhishthira, now tell me why you choose Nakul. You could have chosen Bhim. He's so strong. You could have chosen Arjun. He's a Maharati. Why did you choose Nakul? And then Yudhishthira said, my father had two wives, Kunti and Madri. I am alive to comfort my mother, but I would like one of Nakul or Sahadev to live so that they will comfort my mother, Madri. And the yak said, because of your selflessness, you didn't think about one of your own brothers. I'm going to make all of them come back to life. And all of them came back to life. So, the Mahabharata has this background that when they came back now from after they went into all of this, and they were coming back now, hoping to get back their kingdom, Duryodhana said, no way. We're not going to give you back your kingdoms. And then Krishna was one of the go-betweens. He said, the Pandavas are willing to take 5 villages, not cities now. 5 villages if you will give them, they will be happy. And then the famous words, Duryodhana said, not even a needle point. Remember Barnum? Barnum said, not a blade of grass. Not a blade of grass. Not even a needle point of territory we're going to give to you. And so, based on this now, that's how war was declared. And based on this, everything, all the preparations were made. Remember, Arjun was not a stranger to war. In fact, he had just defeated the same Kauravas when they were in exile. These guys went to get the cows of the kingdom where they were staying in disguise. Beautiful story. And they were routed by Arjuna. The Gandharvas had beaten the Kauravas again. And Bhima was laughing. Then Arjuna said, Yudhishthira said, no, we got to go help them. He says, when your family is in trouble, you need to help them. And they went and they beat the Gandharvas and they set them free. Arjuna was no stranger to war or to killing. You see, it's not what the hands do, but it's what the mind and the motive of what we do. Like they say, you kill one man, you're a murderer, and you kill thousands, and you're a hero. Because you kill the one man because you want to take something from him. The motive is the Christ. But you're fighting for your country. You kill 1,000. It's not a crime anymore. You're a hero. Because the motive was defending your country. The law even says somebody comes to your house and try to kill you, and you kill them, you're not a murderer. If you go by the corner and you lie in wait and you kill the man because you wanted his money or his power, then that is a crime. The Bhagavad Gita will again tell us that the mind, the involvement of the mind is what the mind is the doer of the action. It's not the physical action so much, but it's the motive behind the action. Somebody might pass and see me in a bar, and the next thing, and they see another guy in the bar, and they might say, "Oh, Mr. Jack there is teaching my class, and look, he's having a nice drinking. What kind of man is that?" I might have just stepped in there to meet somebody. The motive is different. There were two friends, and they were invited. A big yagya was going on. So one friend went to the yagya, the other one went to have a nice time. The one who was in the yagya was thinking, look how stupid I am, sitting here, my friend is having a nice time. And the other one was saying, look what I'm doing here, and my friend is sitting there, I'm such a sinner. It so happened, as story goes on, instantly both of them died. The one in the mandir went to hell, and the one in the house of ill repute, he went to heaven. I said, how is this? It's where you're mindless. Where you're mindless. So, from the next lesson proper, what I'm going to do for you, we're going to study, like I said, what is known as the Gita Dhyana. I'm going to get copies of this for you, Gita Dhyana. And the Gita Dhyana were 9 verses that were composed by one of the original commentators of the Gita. And we're going to study these verses, what they mean, and we're also going to learn to sing them. Because from now on, from the next time, our class will take a special format. We will start by doing the Shanti path. We will chant this here also, and we'll spend a few minutes meditating before we start actually reading the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Like I said, it's going to be a verse-by-verse exposition. We're not going to skip anything. We're going to go through all 700 verses. It took this teacher here over 2 years, lecturing every Sunday to about 1,200 people, and the lectures are done in English. And that's how this book was composed. Hopefully, we won't take that long because some of the things we're going to, think, and we'll go through it. And hopefully, by the end of that time, whatever length of time it takes, I pray that you'll have the patience and the will to be able to continue with it so that we can be able to understand the Gita. My hope is that one teaches one. That after we're done, each one of you will be a teacher in your own right and be able to spread this message. Like I said, when I came across this book, and when I read Gita, like I said, the other day, I brought how many versions of Gita. But when I read this, the exposition by Swami Rangatananda, I don't know if the time was right or what, but it struck me then that this is a scripture that we need to pay more attention on. It's a scripture for us, each one of us, in whatever station of life we find ourselves in. Okay? So with this, I'll now hand you for back to you. Thank you for coming, and hope to see you again next time. I think he deserves a big round of applause.
I'd like to thank Pitaji Naran Jagdeo for accepting the challenge of trying to teach the Bhagavad Gita. And I think he's doing a marvelous job at it. I'm very proud son here right now. I'd also like to thank each and every one of you for coming out here this evening to our very first class of Bhagavad Gita studies, of course presented to you by Sangeet Samaj. Before we end things off this evening, I just want to make an announcement about the class we have coming up at the Queens Public Library at Richmond Hill, which was on the corner of Lefferts Boulevard and Hillside Avenue. It's called After School Studies, and it's a free class that is open for kids from ages 10 to 18 years old. Basically what the class is free tutoring in maths and English. So if they're having trouble in maths and English, they can come and we'll have free tutoring available for them. Right? The teacher is here with us here this evening, Ravi Ratanji. He's a New York Board of Education certified maths and English teacher. Also, Kiran is here with us. He's also part of the organization, and he will be volunteering to assist Ravi. Kiran is one, Sachin Randin is another one, Crystal Prasad is another one, and Sierra Siram Singh is. So 4 youths from our organization will be assisting him to tutor these kids. And I'm very proud to know that there are kids in our organization that are doing so well in school that they can give back to the community by teaching other kids. So if you know of anyone that can take advantage of these classes, have them get registered at www.sangeetsamaj.com. Right? You want them to do this as soon as possible because we may cap the class off on maybe 20, 25 students based on how much we're able to handle at a time. Right? So first come, first serve. So get them registered as soon as possible. But Raviji, would you like to say something in regards?
Yeah.
You could come.
Namaskar. If I may, I just want to add one little thing to what my brother Yogesh has just said. The ages are from 10 to 18. So obviously we have 5 people that are going to help, and he said we want to cap the classes off. But this here, in our New York State alone, our country as a whole is probably number last in mathematics and English, even though it's an English-speaking country. We don't even know how to conjugate verbs properly. We don't know what's a pronoun. We don't know any of these kind of stuff. And more so, we don't even know the Pythagorean theorem, as our Guruji has said. We don't understand these simple things. So, simple algebra, simple mathematics, simple English language. These are things that we're going to be covered in the class, and it is very imperative. It's very, very imperative that we bring our children out. Someone that knows someone that has a child, and that child needs to be taught. Just bring the child up. I know my sister already called me. She's already excited to bring her 2 sons to the class. Even they're straight A students. She was like, they still need to learn. So it doesn't matter what the learning level are for your children, age 10 through 18. Bring them out still. They can do one of 2 things. They can be learning, or they can be contributing into the class, and we encourage everyone to do that. Right? So that's the announcement.
Also, as you've witnessed here this evening, the knowledge is flowing in this class. As in the other classes that we've been having, like our Ramayana studies, which is held every Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the New York Hindu Milan Mandir, which is on leftovers between 107 and 109th Avenue. And then we also have our Hindi classes at Sudama Mandir every Monday evenings from, sorry, Tulsi Mandir. This is the Sudama Mandir. Thank you for the correction, Pranaji. From 7 to 8:30 p.m. Right? Bring a friend if you can to this class. I would hate to see this much knowledge go to waste. So if you know of people that can understand and utilize this type of knowledge, please bring them to the class. These classes are free and they're open to the general public. You don't even have to be Hindu. If you're interested in learning the Bhagavad Gita, you can come on and just get registered. That's all I ask. And you can take advantage of these classes. We have with us here as a student, Pandit Gulsharanji, and I'd like Panditji to close the classes off with some prayers.
Om Vishwadeva Savitara Durtani Parasva Yadbhadram Tanavasva Yajagritu Durmadeti Devam Taru Supata Savaiti Durgam Jyotisham Jyotirekam Taname Manaha Shiva Sankalpamastu Taname Manaha Shiva Sankalpamastu Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.
One more thing before you go. We are streaming live on the internet this evening. If you know of anyone that is not in New York State or in the country even, and would like to take advantage of these classes, have them register, shoot me an email or something, and we can add them to our streaming list so they can be a part of the classes via the internet. Also, before you go, something that we do at all our classes is we ask if you like the programs that we've been doing and you'd like to contribute something towards the classes, whether it's $2, $5, whatever it is you can afford. You can see me after the classes to do so. All right. Thank you. See you next week.